All right, everyone, sadly, this is going to be the end of my first week out on the lawns. We've got snow coming tonight. They're saying 1 to 2 inches. It's gonna put a kibosh on the rest of my week. Had a rain day today. Only got a couple properties done before the rain came in, so end of my week. I wanted to take the time today, go ahead and review this week. Earlier in the week, I was tough on granular prodiamine. At this point in the week, I'm comfortable with it. I've slept on it. I've put out 80 bags of it now. I've learned it a little more. I've watched how it's bounced off berry areas. I've watched how it's reacted around concrete. I feel more comfortable with it. Am I going to use it next round? Probably not, just to ensure I get those hard edges around driveways, around sidewalks. That way, it gives me a little more peace of mind. In terms of weeds, what I'm seeing out there, hairy bittercress, the start of some henbit. I've seen really small corn speedwell, chickweed. But for the most part, my lawns are extremely clean right now. The only thing I can attribute that to is really, well, there's two things. One, my lawns are pretty thick, especially if I've had them for longer than a season. If I got a good aeration, overseeding, or renovation done prior to October, everything came in great. Lawns are thick, they're not very weedy. New lawns that I picked up in the fall didn't get a full renovation, or I aerated and overseeded after October, are still a little thin, still a little weedy. Those particular lawns, I went ahead and got pretty aggressive with the weed control. So far, I've sprayed less than an acre of weeds, and I've done quite a bit of square footage. So that tells me so far everything's going right. I went ahead and used triclopyr as a weed control due to the temperatures we've been having. It's been really cold in the morning, warming up during the day. I don't want to mess around with the weeds this round. I'm using triclopyr. I'm going to be done with it. As it heats up moving into next round, I may use more three-way, but in particular, seeing the corn speedwell, I want to get rid of it now before it becomes an issue next round. Corn speedwell, where I'm at, is an issue because three-way doesn't kill it. 2,4-D dicamba MCPP is not going to take it out. Triclopyr will. I'm going to get rid of it now before it becomes an issue next round. Also, not seeing a ton of green in the yards right now. That can be attributed to the damage from the hard freezes we've had. You know, it got down to 2 degrees here more than once. That's not common. Our fescue lawns, they react like it got down to 2 degrees. They almost look dormant right now. I don't expect to see a lot of result from the fertility quickly. I think it's going to take a few weeks. I think soil temperatures are going to have to come up with a little more consistency. I think the soil surface is going to have to stop freezing at the rate it's been freezing. Usually the soil is freezing once or twice a week overnight, and then by 10 o'clock in the morning, usually it's gone. I think that will inhibit the uptake of the nitrogen for the time being. However, applying it in conjunction with the RGS is going to stabilize that nitrogen similarly, but not chemically the way a urease inhibitor or a UAN would. I'm not concerned about losing a lot of the nitrogen I'm applying. More so, I'm concerned about the length of time it takes for the plant to use the nitrogen. And again, that's because I'm applying it with a carbon source. The carbon will help protect that nitrogen in the absence of the plant's ability to take it up. All in all, positive week. Got quite a bit of square footage done. Learning how to use granular pre-emergent. Feeling optimistic about the yards, the amount of growth we got last fall going into this season. I think I'm gonna have great density. One thing I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind is that I used a rhizomatous tall fescue last year. So I'm gonna structure my program this year to try and promote as much shoot growth as possible. I'm going to use higher rates of naturally occurring plant hormones, staying away a little bit from the gibberellins, focusing more on cytokinins and auxins. I'm going to do that in the form of kelp. I'm also going to do that in terms of fertility. I've talked before about how micronutrients affect the plant's usage of macronutrients. So by supplementing with adequate rates of micronutrients, we're going to have more efficient carbohydrate and nutrient use from the plant, which ultimately could mean more rhizomatous activity out of these rhizomatous tall fescues. I do not expect my fescues to spread. That is not why I used it. I used rhizomatous tall fescue because these were the highest ranked in brown patch resistance that I could get my hands on. The 4 varieties that I used in 2 different blends were top 20 in the NTEP trials in Knoxville in brown patch resistance. That is what makes or breaks me in Knoxville, is brown patch. It had nothing to do with the fact that they produce rhizomes. That's a secondary afterthought. That is having your cake and eating it too. So we'll see how that plays out. If I get lucky, I'll get some spreading activity. If I don't, no harm, no foul. I'm mostly after the brown patch resistance. So to recap this week, positive, things are looking good. I'm ahead of where I thought I would be in terms of the conditions of the lawns, in terms of the quality and density of the lawns. So at this point, I feel very positive about things moving forward. One thing I will remain cognizant of as I continue to move on through this first round will be weed pressure. This first round moving into the second round is when we have the big flush of weed pressure. Again, the weeds we're going to be seeing now likely germinated over winter or even as late as last fall. So the pre-emergent I'm applying now will do nothing to prevent those weeds. They will have to be treated post-emergently. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not blanket spraying lawns right now. I'm spot spraying lawns. This is the first time I've never blanket sprayed weed control round 1. This will give me a good baseline to understand how that blanket spray of round 1 affects lawns round 2. I plan on blanket spraying round 2, but that's subject to change. Anyway, y'all, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the support. I hope y'all are having a great round 1 out there. If you're not able to get your round 1, I hope you're making lots of money pushing snow and doing whatever it is you have to do to get through your winter months. Again, thank y'all all so much for all the support, the questions, everything. I love every single bit of it. So if there's any kind of support or help I can offer you, please shoot me an email, thegrassfactor@gmail.com. Y'all take it easy. Have a good one.